That's all the media and the politicians are ever talking about, the things that separate us. Race, religion, ethnic and national background, jobs, income, education, social status, sexuality. Anything they can do, keep us fighting with each other so that they can keep going to the bank.
People are going to be doing what they always do when the economy tanks. They will be blaming immigrants and corporate.
This country has proven resilient based on the fact that its foundation is the age of reason.
America is just now coming to grips with what unfolded here in the early morning hours here in Orlando.
In this city, thousands of demonstrators marched to protest the death of Eric Garner.
Breaking news, a fresh act of madness. The snipers hit 11 police officers.
Gun sales in this country are spiking in the aftermath of the San Bernardino terror attack.
We're bringing it on ourselves. And that's the thing. Al-Qaeda, all those guys, ISIS, they're not compared to the damage that we can do ourselves on a regular basis.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Age of Reason podcast with Mike and Alex, where we are not for the faint of thought. So let's get right into it. Sunday ritual here. So let's start off with some Skeptic Sunday School. What do you got for us today, Reverend Gutierrez?
Today we're going to talk a little bit about the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as the Mormon Church. Going to do a little bit of history and a little bit of interesting beliefs that they have. So we're going to start off with the founder, Joseph Smith. He was arrested. The first interesting thing, he was arrested several times before, pretty much right before the Mormon Church came to form. The first time it was for leading fake gold digging adventures. Basically, people would pay him money, you under the intent of they're going to go strike it rich under gold digging. They never found gold, and he would walk away with the money. So he was arrested for that. Arrested for performing an exorcism. Arrested for being a charlatan, or basically somebody who lied to the public. So he had a nice little history before the Mormon Church came to pass. So basically, an angel, the angel Moroni, came and spoke with him 3 times over the course of his life. The angel told him that there was gold tablets buried, and that he was chosen to translate them. It just so happened that the gold tablets were buried on his property in upstate New York.
That's convenient.
Yeah, very, right? It's like God has left the treasure map for you, and then it's like, okay, where's it at? In your backyard. Oh, nice. You know.
I'm trying to go easier on you, easier than I did on the Jews and the Muslims and everybody else.
Yeah, we don't want that walking for 1,000 years thing. So the tablets were supposed to be gold tablets that he dug up. And in his description, and this is just one of the falsehoods, I guess, of Mormonism. In his description, he talks about the size roughly of the tablets. And so they came back and figured out that if those were made out of solid gold, like he stated, the book would have been 300 pounds. And obviously, a normal man wouldn't be able to just tote it around.
Hold on, though. I mean, we went over Noah's Ark, and, Noah was like 800 years old or whatever and built an ark. So, I mean, Lord works in mysterious ways, especially this latter-day guy.
Yeah, that is kind of one of the Mormons' excuses, is that God gave him superior strength to be able to walk around with his tablets.
He's Paul Bunyan.
but that's of course not mentioned in the Book of Mormon or anything, so that's kind of just a guess. They did a lead replica because they kind of said, oh, it actually wasn't pure gold. There was some lighter lead mixed in there to try to make it happen. It still came out to be 118 pounds. There's a replica in a bookstore that people are challenged to pick up and try to walk around with. And I mean, 118 pounds, a good-sized man could pick it up.
Right.
But to walk around with it and stuff is pretty.
You would need the Lord, and it sounds like he had him.
Well, hey, convenient again.
Yeah, right.
So one more convenient thing: if you saw these plates, you would die instantly. So basically, it said that he would put himself in a room with the plates and have kind of curtains around, and he had his wife and also his neighbor translate these gold tablets. He supposedly put a rock inside of a hat, and the hat gave him letter by letter the translation of these. It's like an old English text, right? So he's translating it.
So wait, he put a what inside of a hat?
A stone, like a seer stone. I mean, it's almost like
So
a freaking.
He was on rocks.
Like witchcraft
basically,
kind of
is what
shit.
you're saying. Yeah, exactly. Moses has a burning bush, and he's got rocks. And it's all right. This is sounding more and more believable as you continue.
So, the wife. So he got his neighbor to translate. To scribe, because Joseph Smith was actually he was supposedly a good speaker, but he was illiterate. He could read a little bit, but he couldn't write. So, of course, he had to have somebody to write these things. Why God didn't make him just be able to write, I don't know.
Well,
but
it's weird. I mean, if you think about it, Jesus was an incredible Messiah, terrible carpenter. I mean, if you think about it, it was a hammer, some boards, and a few nails that killed him to begin with. But, I mean, that's just a carpentry accident right there. So, I mean, it goes without saying. Everybody's got strengths. That's what God plays to. Okay.
So the neighbor, his wife was skeptical. I mean, I can't imagine if you're spending 12 hours a day at your neighbor's house translating the Word of God. I can imagine your wife would have a couple questions, So after questioning him and not getting the answers, I think there was 3 times she requested to see the tablets, and each time God had told Joseph not to show them. So she ended up stealing the translation.
Well, wait, hold on. I thought it would blind her, though, right?
Oh yeah, it would, but she was hoping
it wouldn't make sense for the story if that was going to be the case. Oh, okay,
Right.
all right, gotcha. All right, that makes sense. Okay.
So she stole the first 116 pages of translation, and she told him, if your whole operation here is true, you should have no problem retranslating the first 116 pages, and it should match this exactly. Makes sense, right? If that's the Word of God.
She was a thinker. It's not a bad play.
Need more women,
She just doesn't know
religion like this, right?
Well, it's a problem because she's a female, and females they don't get it. Men do not like repeating themselves. God's not going to want to redo all this again.
Well, it's funny you mention that, because Joseph Smith actually said that now those could have potentially been in the possession of the devil since they were stolen. So God wasn't.
Women, Satan, yeah, gotcha.
So you couldn't just throw them back in the Book of Mormon. He had to retranslate, and basically told the stories pretty similar over.
Right, but now women were the enemy. I'm sure.
So let's see. A part of the translation. So there's entire passages from the King James version of the Bible that are duplicated inside the Book of Mormon. And so, I mean, you got to imagine this is a guy sitting around the table basically humming, like, trying to translate, So I think as he was doing that, he probably picked up the Bible, read a little bit of that, and, these guys wrote that down. Also, the phrase "it came to pass" is written over 2,000 times in the Book of Mormon. Let me just give you.
Was that about kidney stones or?
So
bowel
remember
movements?
This was written in the 1800s, right? But this is just a small example of how the Book of Mormon reads. And it came to pass that Puckamini, who was the chief judge, did flee before Corinthumum, even to the walls of the city. And it came to pass that Chrysanthemum did smite him against the wall, insomuch that he died, and thus ended the days of Pacumeni. I mean, like, you could have just said.
Now,
hey,
to be fair, you did just choose a really small portion of it. I mean, if Pacumeni was a Marvel hero, there's got to be like an origin story and some others. So there's got to be more to that. But one thing that I like is you had a much easier time reading Mormon scripture than I did when I was reading about Revelations. You did mention, the Mormon book was written in the 1800s, not very long ago, and God in both religions does kill with death.
Yeah,
that's great.
When looking, at some other scriptures, I was trying to find out which, verse to use. It uses a lot of like ye, ye shall do this and stuff. It's interesting because in the 1800s, people didn't necessarily talk like that, but
it sounds like somebody trying to talk like that.
Basically,
probably because this was all found in upstate New York in the 1800s. Wow. So moving on here, Joseph Smith ended up moving to Missouri and was killed by an angry mob. So pretty much how all religions go, or prophets. Unless they're Jim Jones, but yeah.
So Brigham Young took over. He's got the Brigham Young University. He's the one that decided to move him to Utah. So enough about the history. Let's go talk about some of their interesting beliefs. So the first one is about actually black people. They believe that black people, or people with dark skin, are the son of Cain, the brother.
Yes.
So they were an inferior race who God punished with darker skin. So this was the teaching of the Mormon Church right until about the time that some of the civil rights, thank you, laws were being passed. So coincidentally, God just happened to pull the messengers together of Mormonism and say, you know what, after all, I decided that this is not such a good idea. We'll let these people in the church, they're normal people. So
because Cain's life matters too.
So conveniently, as the laws changed, God just sent down a message of, saying, oh, hey, by the way, I got it wrong. We're going to switch it up a little bit. So there's that, which, I mean, obviously is the biggest part. Up until the late 60s, it was basically a racist organization.
Right.
So we got that. The Garden of Eden is in Missouri. That's where life originated, basically.
How arrogant are Americans? My God.
This one was new for me. When I looked it up, I had to verify. Water is bad. Apparently, Satan has power over water, and that's lakes, oceans, rivers. I'm not sure how they square that circle. But
wow,
water is bad.
All right, Mrs. Boucher. That's how H2O. Water's the devil, Bobby. Wow, that's.
So they have different versions of heaven based on how good you are. So there's 3 different versions. That's obviously a little different than what we're used to. No virgin birth. They believe that God turned himself into a human and had sex with Mary. So they said, you know what? They said, look here, right? This virgin birth shit is just too ridiculous. They said, nobody's going to believe this. So we're going to get that out of here. What we have to offer instead is there's the planet Kolob, and that's the closest body to God.
You're fucking killing me over here.
I knew this was gonna be a fun one, right? So they live on the god lives on this planet Kolob, basically. So there's like a star planet sanctuary somewhere in space.
Right.
So we got that, and then the last thing, it's kind of our favorite thing to joke about is the magic underwear.
Right.
So they don't like to talk about it, say it's like a sacred garment or whatever, but according to doctrine, it will protect you from fire, cuts, gunshot wounds, and animal bites.
There might be some truth to that. I know you don't play video games as much as you'd like to, but they remastered Skyrim for next-gen systems. So I played it a lot on my PS3, and then I sold my PS3, and I just bought it the other day. And I think I have armor that actually does that. I think I found some armor somewhere in the Commonwealth that allowed me to, resist fire. My boots resist fire, that's for sure.
So it sounds like your character is a Mormon.
Actually, it's pretty funny.
Does he go knocking on doors? You go knocking on doors?
Not for that reason. Even in the video game, I'm not up at 7 o'clock in the morning. It's weird, but the whole game is about religion. The whole fucking thing is about religion. It's pretty entertaining, but there you have it, everybody. That's what Mormons believe. You cannot make that shit up.
No. I think if you did, it would probably be more sane.
Well, I mean, it sounds like they tried. They're like, the hell with this virgin birth stuff. God just, turned himself. He shape-shifted and came down to Earth as a fucking comet and had sex with a virgin. And man,
makes sense.
Yeah, completely. So that concludes Skeptic Sunday School. Alex, what do we got for news?
So it's kind of a still slow week with the election, seeing what's going on there. One good news that came out of the election we mentioned, not Fat Joe, but Big Joe Arpaio, your old sheriff.
Yeah, he leaned back.
He was actually voted out. He's been in that role for 24 years. He was, I want to say, I didn't write it down, but I want to say he was 84.
He's old and under indictment.
I mean, yeah. So under indictment, that's definitely the interesting part. He has misdemeanor charges that he's going to be facing next month.
Yeah.
And some interesting things. His campaign this election cycle received $12.5 million, mostly from out-of-state donors. So people are just pumping him up. So that's not near the amount that he's cost your old county.
Yeah.
It looks
Maricopa.
Between $72 and $130 million in legal fees to defend his racist policies, basically.
All I gotta say is suck it, Arizona. Oh my God, yes, and Maricopa County and Big Fat Joe over there. What I thought was interesting. So I read a quote from Carlos Garcia, he's the head of an advocacy group over there that was formed in 2007. That was specifically formed against Joe and his tent city and racial profiling for Hispanics when they wanted to basically completely bypass your First Amendment and your Fourth Amendment for illegal search and seizure and look for illegal immigrants. He was quoted as saying, "The people Arpaio targeted decided to target him. He lost his power when undocumented workers lost their fear." That's awesome. That's an awesome quote. I love the way he worded it. I love his point. And moving forward in other discussions that we're going to have and going forward for the foreseeable future, uniting and losing fear is going to be something that you and I are going to be probably taking on every episode. But great news. Suck it, Arizona.
Okay, so then my next piece of news, and actually it's my last today, happened right before the election. Pope Francis, pretty liberal compared to his predecessors, done some good things to move the Catholic Church into the 21st century. Definitely done his share of things to keep him in the dark, but
I don't know about in the 21st century, but in the right direction. He's made some progressive steps.
Some of his things are decent, but so he was asked if women will ever get the chance to be enter priesthood, and basically said no. He said that Saint Pope John Paul II, who's recently sainted, he said that if you look in he made a biblical document, basically a pope talk, where we're talking about the Catholic Church's position. She is the Catholic Church, that is not admissible to ordain women to the priesthood for very fundamental reasons. These reasons include the example recorded in the sacred scriptures of Christ, choosing his apostles only from among men. So, because that's Jesus, right? So, the constant practice of the church, which has imitated Christ in choosing only men, and her living teaching authority, which has constantly held that the exclusion of women from the priesthood is in accordance with God's plan for his church.
I think the amount of times you said choosing only men is very fitting for the Catholic Church.
Well, boys, typically it's
that too.
Young men, but yes. So I mean, there it is.
Yeah.
Are you going to change? No.
But you know what? I mean, like you said, we got to give credit where it's due. I mean, you can say that Pope Francis has took a few steps forward and just as many steps backwards with this, but honestly, it shouldn't surprise you. I mean, it really shouldn't. No religion puts women in a position of power. It just doesn't.
That's not true. That's not true.
Out of the main ones.
I think that's where his question actually came from. He had just met with a Lutheran church leader who was actually female.
No, but the vast majority of Christians.
Oh yeah, the vast majority. Yeah.
Well, I mean, God, I'm generalizing because of how many religions there are out there, but Christianity, Catholicism, Muslims can't even drive. In some Muslim-ran countries, I mean, they never put women in a position of power. But speaking of taking away power from women, as everybody should realize now, Donald Trump isn't the only thing that we have to worry about. It's Mike Pence. And he has recently come out again, full force over defunding Planned Parenthood and wanting to appoint him and Trump Supreme Court justices to overturn Roe v. Wade. Well, before the election results came in, Mr. Father Frank Pavone displayed a dead fetus on an altar to promote a Trump presidency to his congregation. This guy, Mr. Pavone, serves on Trump's pro-life and Catholic advisory committees. All I gotta say is, who's selling baby parts now?
Yeah. My question was, where the hell did he get a fetus?
He got the fetus from a Protestant pastor who knows a pathologist who got him the fetus. That's how he got the fetus. He knew a guy who knew a guy. Somebody knew Morgan Freeman, the guy that could get things, and they got him a fetus.
I don't think God would have went along with this.
Well, actually, the Catholic Church, so the diocese is doing an investigation on him, but they said that he broke religious law and biblical law by even being around an aborted fetus. But they do respect his intent. Now, he put up two videos, one that was 4 minutes and one that was like 40 to 45 minutes of him speaking with an aborted fetus on displayed on the altar with a candle lit on either side. But it's just the hypocrisy. I mean, you remember when Planned Parenthood, those guys were, went undercover and discovered that they were that they were selling baby parts and all that shit, and then they ended up getting prosecuted and the whole case got blown out of the water. And look what these seriously. Good job, Father.
When you told me this story, I was like, no, there's no way.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
I mean, it's
not,
funny,
it's not
gruesome.
at all, but
It's just like, my God, what are they gonna come up with next?
yeah, the expression. So Alex and I gather news stories on our own, and then we meet up and go over news stories and decide what we're going to talk about on this show. And when I read this to you, I remember the look on your face. No fucking way. There's no way somebody did that. Yes, there is, because religion makes perfectly normal people do awful things, at least to some of them. So after that, more female persecution. I didn't even realize we kind of have a... I mean, with the exception of Joe up there, who just discriminates against everybody, we kind of have like a theme going against females in our news. So
hopefully not that trend ends quickly, because it's not positive stories.
It's not going to end quickly, but we're trying to do our part and inform everybody of it. And I want to let everybody know right now that female masturbation can open up a portal to hell, and something can come out and grab you and pull you into its fiery depths.
Well, I was just about to say sign me up for hell, but the thought of a female masturbating and something coming out and grabbing me ruined the appeal of hell for me. But yeah,
it gets worse. So this guy, his name is Mac Major. Sounds like a rapper, honestly.
I thought it was a rapper too.
Yeah. Mac Major of Eden, Dakota, which is located in the state of Florida, actually believes that you can be pulled into the fiery pits of hell through female masturbation. Now, this includes your fingering. This includes you using your hand to, don't say it, I already have a punchline, don't go there. Don't you steal my fucking punchline. It's coming. All right, hold on. So, he is quoted as saying, masturbation is a direct path to Satan. There is nothing normal about it. Obviously, for me, this is not real, because we all know somebody who spends a ton of time grabbing women by the goddamn pussy, and he is not in hell.
Yeah,
He's
but that's
on
not
his way to the
masturbation.
oval.
That's not.
No, this includes that. You should not be sticking your finger there.
Oh! I see. I see.
I'm just saying.
When you said that, I was gonna say, how else do you masturbate? But I guess you're saying.
Sex. That's all you're allowed. That's the only thing that's allowed to go up there. It's no contraception, procreation only. That's it.
Okay.
I'm just pissed. If this was really, Satan couldn't have made an exception and saved us all from the terrible shit we got coming up.
Well, I mean, I know personally, I've lost several friends, mysteriously.
Wait.
I thought it was, a combustion or, something like that, but now it all makes sense now. The portal of hell opened.
Oh my god. Oh, that's terrible. I know.
I feel better, at least.
And the rise of women with less than 5 fingers on each hand is going up. So that's the truth. Anyway, moving on. You have an interesting story about your wife, an interesting experience she just had, right?
Yeah, so
and she has all of her fingers still. Just letting everybody know.
I was just to go back on that real quick. I wonder what you're supposed to do to plug that portal of hell once it opens. I guess that's when the procreation comes in. The portal of hell comes in. Like, I gotta close this hole.
Send Ted Cruz. He'll know what to do. I don't know why. I just feel like that's the truth. I feel like Ted Cruz is the answer. We finally found a job for that guy.
I'm not. I'm pretty sure that would stop 99.9 women of masturbating right there.
See, there it is. Before you masturbate, think of Ted Cruz, and therefore portals to hell will not be opened up between your legs.
We have just saved the world from the apocalypse.
Ted Cruz saved the world from the apocalypse. He had no idea he was the chosen one. He's Anakin, I guess. Saving the pussy, not grabbing it.
So my wife is going to college right now. She wants to work in the chemistry field, but she's doing. She had an English class, and she wanted. They had to write a term a paper, and she felt that education, especially, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the articles where we live in. Modesto is one of the least educated places in the entire country. And I know there's a lot of stupid people here. I definitely can
It's not
second
surprising.
that.
Yeah.
But I was a little surprised, honestly, when you have states like Alabama, Kentucky, Louisiana, the fact that California has one of the least educated spots. It was honestly a little surprising. But so she wanted to do a paper in that fashion and saying about the how religion held back education in certain times, and the teacher gave her a D and told her that ever since separation of church and state, we don't have these problems anymore, and she basically made up the problem, and to change the topic.
Oh, that makes me so angry. Oh my God, that makes me so angry. Church,
Yeah.
So religion in our politics is no longer an issue because it's written that we have separation of church and state. That was her point.
Yeah, of course. I mean, come on, it's on paper.
So is the Book of Mormon.
Well, gold.
What?
Yeah,
Oh, that
so
makes me
I
so
mean,
angry.
it happened a couple weeks ago, and I've meant to mention it. But she
Well-
was in here the other day, so I figured we'd get it out there. But yeah, it was. I had to have her explain to me the whole process of what the teacher said because
Just to make sure you heard it right the first time.
yeah, it's just there's so many glaring opportunities that where she wanted to go. You know, there's low hanging fruit there, lots of targets, but nope, she had to change it. So
Well, the good news is, and we'll get into this in a few minutes, but we got a good secretary of person that's going to come in and run the educational department that's going to prevent things like this from happening.
problem solved.
We'll give you a little hint as to what's coming. All right, so we got DNC that pisses me off. Anyway, we got DNC elections coming up. What, next week?
You know what? I thought they were next week. It's actually not till the beginning of 2017.
Oh, so yeah. But I mean, we do have them. I mean, this is the process, right? So
it's coming up. This is basically the first move that the Democrats can have after a shamefully embarrassing election. Not only did we lose to Donald Trump, a Cheeto, with all that baggage, but this was supposed to be the year that we took back the Senate. Didn't come close.
this is
the
supposed
House,
to be the year the Republican Party collapsed.
Yeah, exactly right. This is we were supposed to knock them, out basically. And if what I've read is correct, this is the first time in a long, long time that the Republicans have had the House, the Senate, and the presidency.
Didn't they?
So yeah,
wasn't there a portion? Wasn't there 2 years of 2 out of at least eight of the years that W was in office? Didn't he have control for a bit, like kind of Obama did for his first 2 years?
You know, I did kind of think that, but when I read it, I didn't go back and fact check. So I did think that was the case. I'm not sure. Regardless, I mean, this
not
is
long
a pretty,
enough is the point, right? Not long.
This is
enough.
a pretty crappy time for the Democrats, and you it's basically make it or break it.
Right.
So Bernie has supported Congressman Keith Ellison from Minnesota, and he was a big. He was actually at one point, I think, only one of two people in Congress to come out and endorse Bernie.
Right.
So he's a member of the Progressive Congress. I forgot that group, but it's the progressives in Congress,
Right.
basically, and he's a co-leader of that group. So he's definitely a progressive, somebody who thinks in the fashion of Bernie, that kind of mindset, middle class. He's also the first Muslim elected into Congress. I think there's two now, but he was the first.
Right.
So he is kind of who we're hoping for. Harry Reid, who's retiring, endorsed him as well. So he's starting to pick up a little steam. But then on the other side, you still have a lot of the corporate Democrats who are vying for the position. One of them being Howard Dean now.
Kentucky and Missouri. Yeah.
Woo!
The screamer.
So he was once kind of the Bernie Sanders kind of candidate, far left of Al Gore. But since then, he's definitely gotten cozy with Banks, like a normal Democrat, basically. And he had a shot towards Ellison the other day that, to me, it was like a head scratcher. He said that nobody is able to serve as DNC chair and serve the people at the same time. But Debbie Wasserman Schultz was a congresswoman from Florida, her entire reign at the DNC.
Which I'll just point out, which Hillary lost. So look how much good making her an honorary chair of your fucking campaign did you. Anyway, I'm sorry. There's going to be little outbursts like that are going to come out. Well, I will say this. The DNC needs to choose wisely. They really do. Because they need to think very careful about what their next steps are. Because I remember watching CNN, and I forget the guy's name, but the guy that runs the big touchscreen electoral map that Wolf Blitzer always goes over to and tries to get him to do what he wants him to, and he never listens. It's like a comedic duo watching these two. But I forgot his name. But whoever the fuck that guy is, he was even saying as Trump was taking over the Rust Belt and all that shit. Well, I think we better start seeing a Sanders-Warren ticket for 2020 by next week because it looks like Hillary Clinton just handed it to him. I mean, so they better really start embracing the progressive side because you're right. Democrats have become Republicans in the worst ways possible. This is their last shot, in my opinion, before they lose every bit of progressives because when you have 90 million people that didn't vote, everybody says voter turnout's high, Democrats win. That's because there's more Democrats because the majority of big cities are majority Democrat. When you got 90 million registered voters that didn't vote, you're about to lose some more if you don't play your fucking cards right.
Yeah, so it's definitely something to watch, keep an eye on, because it's going to shape going forward. It's going to are the progressives going to win out and, change basically the course of the party, or is the corporate people going to stay in charge? I mean, you're basically asking them to vote themselves out. So, that's usually doesn't happen, right? I mean, it's that's why I still consider it a long shot, even though Ellison's getting the endorsements. It's pretty rare that people say, you know what, I don't like this power that I have, I'm going to give it up. It would be great. A lot of progressives, I think Robert Reich, some other ones are basically calling for everybody that was part of this DNC quit, get fired, get out,
Love that, man.
Move out of the way.
Yep.
Right? And that would obviously be great, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
Oh, of course. It's easier said than done. And if it's not a third party we need the left needs a Tea Party. Not in any way, shape, or form identical to or similar to their policies, but
an anti-Tea Party, basically.
They need an anti-Tea Party for the left. They need somebody that's going to pull these damn Democrats back in line, or a full-fledged third party at this point. It has to happen. They have lost their representation. They are known as a working class party, and the working class just said fuck you. So, speaking of the person that led that charge, we have. Oh man, I was really looking forward to reporting on Trump losing this, Trump losing that, Trump's broke, Trump declares bankruptcy for the final time. I don't know. Melania leaves Trump for Obama's brother. Like, I was looking forward to those headlines, and that's not what we ended up getting. So, one of the interesting things we have about him is his cabinet. So, who is he appointing so far?
So a couple things. The announcements that he has made so far. Chief of Staff, Reince Priebus. Which, what the fuck kind of name is Reince Priebus?
You know what, though? In regards to Reince Priebus, that is the best choice that he's made. Not that it's a good choice, but out of the rest of the names that you're about to come up with, that's the best one. And I only say that because I can see any other Republican making that move.
Oh, but the thing is, I guess, first, you got to go back to his whole primary running as an outsider.
Right? We were going to save this for the end, but yes, yeah.
Yeah, so you got that part. The second part that to me is just hilarious. Is this whole time he's talking about, I know the best people. I got all the best people. So, and then you look at his suspected cabinet. So Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, his head advisor is Bannon, the guy from Breitbart, right?
Right.
A guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that guy's just—he's
a
horrible.
white nationalist, for fuck's sake.
So going forward, these people are just leaked people. It's not for sure, but these are sources inside the campaign say this is how it looks. Secretary of State, I actually was just reading right now. It was initially Newt Gingrich was supposed to be the man here. It looks like, if what I read is up to date, that might be Rudy Giuliani's spot on the team as Secretary of State. So there we go. Treasury, there's a guy, Munchin. He's basically this guy's way outside the political and money establishment. His career, he's only worked at Goldman Sachs for 17 years.
Oh, that's not too bad.
He was a major donor / organizer of the Trump campaign. He was one of the first people of significance to jump on and support him. So there he gets his job as the...
Well, at least he says dedicated. I think after your 15th year, you get buy one, get one on Hillary Clinton speeches at Goldman Sachs.
Nice. Attorney General, so our top lawyer. That was one where he had talked about Giuliani.
Right.
Now I have a feeling, since it looks like he'll be tapped for a more important job, we might have Chris Christie as our Attorney General. And that's who, when we initially talked, you had kind of assumed it would be Chris Christie. So we'll see how that goes. Interior Secretary.
Don't even say it. Don't even. Can we skip this one?
Well, I'll give you the first name. I think it might be the second name that
Can we please skip this? I don't even want to hear it.
So for Interior Secretary, we have Mr. Lucas, who is 74 and the founder of Lucas Oil. So very rich,
money
wealthy,
in politics.
Outsider, right? Yeah, exactly. There is another choice.
A holy rolling choice.
And this is definitely tapping the best people, unheard of people. So, and honestly, again, when I read this, I had to read the previous sentence over just to make sure I read it right. Yep. Donald Trump Jr. is being considered for the Interior Secretary. Yeah, I see the dumbfounded look on your face.
That's starting to get debunked, because due to nepotism laws, he shouldn't be able to appoint a family member.
I don't know the details of the nepotism laws. I would imagine that you would. It's not. I mean, if you have a cousin or somebody that's worked with you from the beginning.
Well, if anybody can make it happen, he's proven that he could.
It would be the Donald, yes.
The Donald.
So we'll see how that goes. My favorite here is Education Secretary.
And just a heads up, before you go into education, the other Secretary of Interior that I heard this week, and the one that I thought you were going to name, is Sarah Palin.
Oh God.
That's the other. She was the very first person that came out as his likely to appoint for Secretary of Interior. That's why I said holy roller.
Oh, I see. I just got an update. It appears that Donald Trump Jr. and Sarah Palin are going to have a hunt off. They're going to see who can kill more endangered species in Africa. So stay tuned.
All right, go ahead.
And next for the person in charge of our children's education is potentially going to be the one and only Ben Carson.
My nuggets.
Well,
our
that never gets
children
old.
are going to learn that the pyramids were built to store grain. This is... Oh, man.
But, I mean...
They're going to be leaving lunch pails all over the fucking place.
At one hand, you know, you kind of expected it. These are the people that, you know, helped him get to where he got.
Yeah.
You know, so you would kind of imagine some handouts.
But what does drain the swamp mean to you now?
Unfortunately for him, Trump TV is not going to be able to take off because he's going to have to wait till after the election. I think he was betting on that. He was planning on losing and winning on Trump TV. So
Everybody
now,
calls him stupid. He's really not. That was his backup plan. I guarantee you. That was exactly how he's going to spend the rest of his days, was Hillary Clinton presidency. You know, and it's a great thing that we got Donald Trump, because I would hate to have to worry about Hillary Clinton's emails moving forward. But that's what he would be able to do, is sit back and say, I fucking told you so. Every time something happens in the Clinton administration that his people don't like, and if Hillary Clinton becomes unfavorable, which was a likely possibility, you know, he'll be able to sit back and do that and make more money and still have a voice in the political realm the rest of his life, which will hopefully be a short one. But from what I hear, from what his doctor says, you know,
he's
got
the healthiest
health.
fucking president in the goddamn
So, other than that, I'm still reading through it, but regarding Trump, his tax plan came out, and, you know, it's man, he would have made a great car salesman if nothing else. So he ran his whole election basically telling everybody, Hillary Clinton's going to raise your taxes. I will not. Funny thing, he's not raising taxes, but he is repealing tax codes, like head of household. So just for all you people out there, here, all of you people that are single dads, single moms, and you file head of household, great news. Under the new Trump America, you're about to get fucked, because your taxes are going to go up about $2,400 a year, because he's going to take away the head of household filing, which lowers your taxable income. You're going to end up having about $2,400 a year that you're going to miss out on now. So great job for any of you single parents out there that voted for Donald Trump, because you're about to get screwed. But for all of his golf buddies, they're going down 7 points. He's lowering their taxes by 7%. So they get to go down, and guess who's going to be paying for all this? Middle class. He has not forgotten about you. Once he starts wrecking the economy, guess where they're going to come to? They're not going to go to the golf buddies. They're not going to go to the poor because they don't have any fucking money. They're going to come to the middle class to pay off this gigantic debt that he's going to make even bigger. Bigly.
Just a quick side note. So I have a boss type figure who is one of the types that has no problem starting the conversation with, I don't know very much about this, but here's my opinion. And we were talking about the election, and another boss type person who's in the same annual salary range was saying, oh man, you know, under the last Republican administration, I lost $300,000 with my 401k and my house value dropping. And my brilliant boss said, oh, you know, that's so asinine. You know, these Democrats, they just want to tax you. And, you know, I just don't understand how you would, you know, be on that side, you know. And I'm like, okay, let me just, do you make $250,000 a year? Because, you know I certainly don't. and I have a feeling you don't. And the other guy says, oh, no, I don't come close. Neither does the boss, right? So it's just the perception that they have of just like Democrats tax bad, Republican tax good. It's just
very Neanderthal of you.
I mean, that's how their position is. They just think like, oh, the Democrats, they're just going to tax and tax and tax. And I mean, in this case, and even under Obama, that's just not the case. So it's just another point of where somebody who's not educated thinks, my opinion is worth as much as somebody who's actually done the research and checked it out.
Well, we'll have more to come on Donald Trump, but what the something just tickled my leg. Oh my God, it's a giant dick.
Now it's time for AOR's
The fuck?
Giant Dicks of History.
And that's going where?
All right, so it's time for Giant Dicks of History, and I really wanted to find a giant dick from history this week that I could relate to what just happened in this election. So I'm going to try to tie this up in a nice little neat package and tie a bow in the shape of a big gold T standing for Trump. So let's see if I can get this done here. So we're going to talk about, before I reveal who the giant dick is, we're going to talk about propaganda. Now, propaganda, it's met with negativity. That word, anytime somebody talks about it, you think of communist China, communist Russia, North Korea, or the Nazi Party. Well, just so everybody knows, I mean, propaganda is not necessarily always a bad thing. Propaganda is simply marketing, trying to get a certain group of citizens or all citizens to kind of rally around an idea. So it's not always a bad thing. But the word is so tainted now, and that's mainly because of Nazi Germany. But just so you know, the biggest contributors to what propaganda has turned into was Britain and the United States. So much so that in Mein Kampf, before the Nazi rise to power, in Mein Kampf, when Hitler wrote that book, he commented on his admiration of Britain and how they use propaganda to their advantage. So when you think about propaganda, it's not the communists, it's not the Nazis, or it wasn't, that made propaganda what it was. It was the United States and Britain. So now we have a little bit of an understanding on what propaganda is. Let's talk about the man who understood after World War II that the word propaganda was met with too much negativity. So he came up with the term public relations. And we're talking about Edward Bernays. Edward Bernays was the nephew of Sigmund Freud, the famous psychologist. And basically, this guy, I mean, he's known as the father of public relations or the father of propaganda. And for good reason. He actually wrote the book on propaganda called Propaganda. So, getting a little bit into this guy, I mean, his initial claim to fame, at least in the political world, is he worked for Woodrow Wilson. And he was charged with selling the World War I, the involvement of the United States into World War I to the American public. And the way he did that was he got everybody riled up, all the citizens riled up behind the American flag and red, white, and blue and democracy, and came up with the idea of spreading democracy to Europe. And I mean, there was a lot more involved in this, but I'm going to kind of skip through and try to get you some of the things that he's known for as quickly as I can. You can look it up later, but basically that was his first claim to fame. And the way that he does what he does is he doesn't like direct advertising. He wasn't a big fan of go buy a Big Mac now. What he was more a fan of is making you subconsciously think, I'm hungry, I need a Big Mac. And somebody that studied Edward Bernays for quite some time about his book Propaganda, he had this to say. He said his aim, meaning Bernays, his aim was not to urge the buyer to demand the product now, but to transform the buyer's world so that the product must appear to be desirable as if without prod of salesmanship. And so basically what that means is you don't create the need for the product through a commercial. You create the need through the product subconsciously in who you are trying to sell to. Another big venture that he did. One of his clients was Lucky Strike. You may recognize Lucky Strike cigarettes from Mad Men. And what he did with Lucky Strike cigarettes was, back in those days, women did not smoke. Only feminists did. And feminists, obviously, were not popular back in those days. But, the tobacco companies came to him and they said, we need to sell cigarettes to women because we're missing out on half the population. So here's just how simple his tactics were. The Lucky Strike cigarette pack was kind of a hunter green color. So first he went to fashion industries or fashion, the fashion industry and experts within that industry and said, I want you guys to make hunter green the in color during your next fashion season. So what he did was, while doing that, he went to psychologists and he found out why women don't smoke. Women don't smoke because instead of as kind of a manly thing and a feminist thing, and the public doesn't accept it. So armed with that information, he then stages a parade on the day of Easter, and he has all these women, all these models from the fashion industry come out promoting hunter green clothing with the Lucky Strike cigarettes, and they lit up on camera, and that got published all over different types of media, and this led to women smoking cigarettes, and it made the public perception shift. So it doesn't just stop there. I mean, he's had many other political deals that he's been in, and one of the more famous ones was Arbenz, President Arbenz from Guatemala. What had happened was one of Bernier's clients was the United Fruit Company, and the United Fruit Company was about to lose a ton of money because Arbenz made workers' rights a priority. So now you have all these workers that are kind of unionized, and they have workers' rights now, and that raised the cost of the products for the United Fruit Company. So what he did for his corporate client was get the Americans to believe that Arbenz was a communist, kind of what we would do to a terrorist nowadays, and got the public to back pretty much removing him from power. And so President Eisenhower, it succeeded. President Eisenhower did end up overthrowing Arbenz, and this ended up making the United Fruit Company a ton of money. But it's not just about those companies. When you look at the 6 largest media companies that own all these different TV stations, just to name these 6, you got General Electric. They don't just sell refrigerators and washers and dryers. They own Comcast Cable, they own NBC, they own Universal Pictures. News Corp owns Fox News, Wall Street Journal, New York Post. Disney owns ABC, ESPN, Marvel, and Miramax. Viacom owns MTV, Comedy Central, Nickelodeon, Teen Nick, BET, and CMT. And Paramount Pictures, BET and CMT. That's interesting. And then you have the Warner Company, which owns obviously Warner Brothers, CNN, HBO, Time, and obviously Warner as well. And then you have CBS, which owns the Showtime Network, NFL.com, and 60 Minutes. And there's so much more than that. There's so many other TV stations that these 6 companies own that I didn't name. Those are just the most notable. But just to give you some perspective here, Bernier's helped make money and build the companies of Time, NBC, CBS, and GE. So you have 4 out of those 6 that this guy helped create. And now when you look at it, when it comes to TV shows, there's a saying in kind of the producer side of the industry, which is TV shows only exist to sell commercials. It's all about money. And what's the cheapest genre and one of the most popular on TV that sells commercials? Reality TV. Now you probably see how I'm going to tie this guy into Trump. Because of the tactics that Bernier's ended up teaching, and if you ever take a marketing class or anything, you're guaranteed you're going to learn about this guy. So now you see where I'm going with this. So his tactics being used ended up creating a market for reality TV, because our subconscious, I mean, things happen. I mean, studies have been shown, even if you're not affected by a commercial at the time that you see it, that has no difference as to whether or not when you go to a store and you're thirsty, you're not going to buy a Sprite. There's no evidence showing that doesn't happen. So, with that being said, when it comes to reality TV, back in the day, reality TV's been around since the 40s. But really what it was when we were growing up was, and Alex and I are in our late, are around 30 years old right now. So when we were growing up, you had cops and you had game shows, and later on in the 90s, you started with MTV's Real World and stuff like that. And it was kind of okay because there was, it was focused around some sort of competition, or, the people were a focus, but they weren't really the main focus. That's not the case anymore. Now the focus is their lives. And so what they're doing is, when we were growing up, we knew everything that was on TV was a fantasy. It wasn't real. It was fake. And what we have done now with reality TV is we've completely erased that line. That line's not there anymore. We now look at reality TV as people that we could be. Why would you want to be a Kardashian? I have no idea. But there are, unfortunately, young females out there that want to be them. There are young males out there that want to be Trump, or whatever the case. And we're kind of putting a really bad idea in the heads of our youth, and even our adults in this country that are watching reality TV and embracing it, because really it's about violence. Talk about the Jerry Springer Show, or any of these reality TV shows like Real World or Survivor, when fights break out, that sort of thing. And it promotes judgment, such as 16 and Pregnant, or what's that other one? Toddlers and Tiaras. These beauty pageants for children. I mean, it just promotes judgment. And now, to really take this to Trump, I'm going to go over four principles that make for good reality TV that Trump then took with him as his campaign strategy to the presidency. Number one, in order to be a successful reality TV star, you need to be an easy label. You need to be difficult to categorize in several different compartments. You need to have just very few categories. You need to be able to be put in the box, which is why reality TV shows, you always have, the friend, the confidant that people speak with, and then you have the person. If it's like Real Housewives, you have like a few drama queens. Bad stereotype of women, but that's what it is, causing drama all the time. And we'll get to drama here in a minute, but they're always categorized pretty easily. Well, by Trump not releasing policy throughout the entire campaign, it's hard to categorize him. You can't really categorize the rest of the people that were on that stage, because they were all politicians. They've all had views within the political world that they have signed on to, bills that they authored or helped pass, and you couldn't categorize him easily. But with Trump, all you need to know is that he's a businessman and he's an outsider. That's all it takes. Very simple. And when you ask his supporters why you like him, they may say he says what he thinks, sure, but he's a businessman and he's an outsider. That's it. Number two, you need to have a simple message. Make America great again. And when you ask how you're going to make America great again, how he did that did not matter. Trust me, I spoke with a Trump supporter, and it was one of the only things that kind of made me feel better, is that I finally get it as to why certain people voted for Trump. He told me it didn't matter how he was going to make America great again. He just said it, and I trust him. I believe that he's going to do that for me. And that's all it took. So now you have simple to label, simple to categorize somebody into one tiny little box, and then you have a very simple message. So he used that to pick up on the disenfranchised, the people that felt left behind. Number three, now we're going back to what I said earlier about drama. And I don't really feel like I even need to give any examples. If you watch any of the debates, if you watch any of Trump's speeches, you already know where I'm going with this. So saying crazy statements makes him not only dominate the airtime. I mean, since he came down his golden escalator and told everybody he was running for president, Trump has taken 25% of the news that's covered on our media. And that includes all news. That's not just politics or anything. That's just total news coverage has gone to Donald Trump. And that's because of the things he says when he makes fun of a mentally disabled, or not a mentally, I'm sorry about that, physically disabled reporter, or what he calls Mexicans rapists, or bad hombres, or says Megyn Kelly's got blood coming out of her eyes or her wherever, all these terrible comments that he's made about different groups. It dominated for airtime. And think about it, if you ever have watched reality TV, you could probably pick up on the fact that the way that they sell ratings are they play commercials filled with clips of the most obnoxious and most terrible person on that show. That's how they do it. And I mean, I'm sure, I've been talking about reality TV for a while, and I've said that, I blame, part of that, part of Trump getting as far as he did on the reality TV phenomenon, but I didn't know we were going to get an orange gremlin in the White House. And by that, I don't mean Snooki. It's just, it's honestly, when I was doing more research into this, it's pretty amazing. But lastly, what you want to do is remain one step ahead of your opponents and break all the rules. And one of the things that he did, he did both of these in one stunt. He gets into that issue with Megyn Kelly during the primary season over the first debates, that she was too hard on him, that sort of thing. What he ended up doing was, he's been getting all this press for things that he said about Little Marco and Lion Ted and all that. And now Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz were at the time gaining a little bit of ground. They were, Ted Cruz is in second place, Marco Rubio was in third. And what did he do at the last debate? He ditched it. He just left. He went to go raise money for troops and raised $5 million and didn't give them a dime. But that's not the point. If you don't know better, he left the clown car to go help our America's finest in our military. So what it ends up looking like now is Trump is being the bigger man to the people that support him, while what he really did is, by leaving the stage, he's no longer the focus. And remember what happened during that debate. That was when Marco Rubio got torn up by Chris Christie. He said, "I'm tired of people saying Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing." And then there's Chris Christie. There's those sound bites. He called him out on the sound bites because Marco Rubio said it like 3 times during the same debate. So he got annihilated by Chris Christie. And then you have Ted Cruz, who was, again, getting mean questions from Megyn Kelly and Chris Wallace, just like Trump was. And he says, "I got to be honest. If you're gonna keep being mean to me, I might just leave." And then Ted Cruz dropped. That's step number 4. That's 2 for the price of 1. So this is why Edward Bernays is our giant dick of history this week, is because the things that he put in place, the ideas of marketing and public relations that he put in place, ultimately led to this. It led to companies being able to pretty much control what we want, when we want it, and how we get it, most of the time without us even realizing it. And if you think this is conspiracy or you think this is crazy, think about how many things that you have bought. And I'm guilty of this too. I'm not judging, believe me. But think of how many things you buy just for the label. That's it. Just for the brand, for no other reason. And you can argue and you can say Coke tastes better than Pepsi, or Nike shoes last longer than Adidas or Reebok, or whatever the case. But really think about brand loyalty that you have, and if you have any reason to actually prefer that brand, other than the fact that the Nike swoosh looks really cool on the side of your shoe. So anyway, I'm Mike. That's Alex with AOR Podcast. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Follow us on Twitter at AOR_podcast. Check us out on Facebook at the Age of Reason podcast page. And for everything else, AORpodcast.com. See you guys next time.